Hey everybody, it's the first, the last, the Nerdom. We're here with the Batman, and this is Thomas, and I'm here with Mike. How's it going, Mike?
Good. It's another week, and we're good to be back with us on a regular schedule here. And
Mhm.
it is just nice to be able to go over the first, last, and the nerdoms. Thank you, Thomas. So, what do we got
Yeah.
for this week?
All right. We thought since the Batman's hitting HBO Max, we thought we would dive right into that. Plus, we wanted to talk on some of our favorite Batman storylines, or our favorites anyway. And we're going to do our regular recommends on comic books and YouTube channels. And actually, I have a video game recommendation today as well. So
More on
we
that
got
later too.
we got a show, so let's jump right into it. Oh wait, before okay. Before we do,
Yeah.
just a little side thing. I love Chinese food. I get Chinese food all the time. Uh and you get your little fortune cookie, right?
Mhm.
For a while there, a long while back, I kept getting threats, or it seemed to be implied threats, through the fortune cookies. And I don't know what it was. Maybe I was being paranoid. I don't know. And then, then I for a while there, they weren't even fortunes anymore. It was just sort of affirmations or whatever. But I had Chinese today, and I got what appears to be on the surface an affirmation, but it kind of seems like a veiled threat as well. I don't know. You tell me if I'm paired. It says, in life, it's good not to get too comfortable.
All right. Okay.
Does it sound like a bit of a threat? Or am I just
Mm,
crazy?
I think
So,
if it were a few years before COVID and living through the era of COVID, there is always that one that they say, "May you live in interesting times." So
yeah.
we really know what that means. So I don't know. I might say I might take it as not a threat, maybe a warning.
Warning. There you go.
Same
Okay.
thing. Same
Yeah.
thing.
And
But yeah,
and speaking of messages and warnings and riddles, let's go back into the Batman.
absolutely. Yeah. So this week we find ourselves at going over the Batman, and like Thomas was saying, they released it to theaters, but under this new model, which I think is going to expire over the next couple of years as things get back to normal or semi-normal, whatever, from the as we move into a post-COVID world. But anyway, because of that, they released this film in all its glory on HBO Max, just very shortly after it was in the theaters. And I do remember being in the theaters, and I think we both kind of looked at it and we had our own little take on it, and decided we'll wait.
Yeah,
I'm glad we did.
the whole 3 hour movie. It's a hard pass for me. I can't do a 3 hour movie in the theater, especially if it's the Batman.
Yeah,
not
I
not
would
not
say,
not nothing against Batman. But yeah, just
no, no content foul or nothing like that. I agree with you. I would have to be in my most productive, or not productive, but my most Batman ravenous period of my life for me to have gone to see it. And that might have occurred maybe we're talking like back when the original trilogy or the
Mhm,
second trilogy, the Nolan trilogy was out.
mhm,
Then back then, I probably would have. I probably would have. But
mhm.
today, no, no. I'm kind of glad, because I don't know how you watched it, but I watched it with some little fans, and
Mhm.
I don't know about you, but we broke it up over 3 nights, and we watched it over Pesach, over this past week. How did you take it? What, to fit in those 3 hours at home?
Yeah, I broke it up in two. I watched the half hour, and then I watched the other 2.5 all together. So yeah, I mean, I could sit down for a 2.5 hour movie. So, and with the credits and all that, it's more less, not as a little over 2 hours on the second half of it. So, but yeah, it's and we'll talk about the elephant in the room. It to me, it nowhere needed the 3 hour runtime. Some movies, like say The Godfather, it's gonna need that room to breathe as a story, because you've got so much to cover and you're going back in the past and whatnot. This doesn't even go over his origin story, so there's no jumping around in time. It's just one complete story that takes place over 3 hours, and that pacing for this movie does not work for me.
The pacing, I don't know how long it should have been, because I'm not that guy, but I will be that guy and kind of pop a balloon here a little bit. But 2 hours would have been too short. 3 hours is too long. Somewhere in the middle. And you're right. We got no origin story attached. And I'd say as a first off for Batman, this is Matt Reeves. Matt Reeves was the gentleman who made this one. I gotta say, there was no origin story. I think we're dropped in like 2 years, like Batman, like very young Batman, but Batman that's been around, not quite brand new Batman, but somewhere in the very, very beginning of where he is. And what were your thoughts on on how this was compared to other Batman? Or I guess what was your overall temperature on it?
Yeah, my short hot take is it's the Batman is Batman by way of David Fincher's Seven, with a strong dash of Christopher Nolan's Batman. And you can kind of see his influence. Well, Matt Reeves, he also did the last two Planet of the Apes movies, and so it kind of got that. He's got that kind of a dark look, and it's the visuals and the sensibility of this movie is very heavily, in my opinion, influenced by Seven. A constantly raining, this dark cityscape with these detectives, including Batman, trying to track down this crazed killer that leaving strange cryptic messages, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. And it's like I said, I don't know if Seven hadn't come before it, how this would have germinated, but yeah, it's got a heavy Seven vibe to it.
Yeah, I get that. I understand. Yeah, and to kind of speak on that, on how Gotham is portrayed, somewhere, I really dug how they did Gotham in this one. Mm-hmm. To be honest with you, I don't think this is an original. But when you watch like a Nolan Batman over those stories, that's like in New York. You get like a New York feel, mm-hmm. New York vibe kind of thing. Also very well done. Whereas the original Batman Gotham was like kind of like its own. I always remember the Six Flags ride, the Batman. The Batman ride, how like before you get up to there, that's an amusement park ride that has been out forever. And when you go in and you go around it, they have the kind of the scenery to kind of set you up before you go, and it's very, very much from that movie. I don't know what the style would be called, but I'd say it's very comic book. Kind of more on the lighter side of it, like a little bit more, I wouldn't say garish, but there are some kind of parts of original Gotham and Tim Burton's Batman that was like that, I would say. But I loved how it is very dark and gritty, but it's not overdone, in my opinion. Like it's almost like another character, like this, almost like the city itself. And the way that Reeves wove it in there, and I'm no surprise, because I did enjoy, past Planet of the Apes films as well. So I just don't know. I'm just not one-on-one on Matt Reeves, but this would cause me to have more hope for if they do this again. But he has a creative vision and he executes it pretty well. I'm just not sure 3 hours is I think 3 hours
Yeah.
works in different contexts. 3 hours at home,
Mhm.
sure, yeah. I'm not going to watch a 3-hour film at home unless I'm a super fan about something, or I'm just going through that kind of phase where I'm into it. But
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, the whole just touch back on the scenery. Yeah, I if my I enjoy the gothic sensibility, cartoon, comic booky feel of the Tim Burton's Gotham. But yeah, Matt Reeves' Gotham is quite nice. It's got that real dark flair to it that Gotham needs. And yeah, the Nolan's Gotham isn't really Gotham like that. It's more of a New
mm,
York or a Chicago kind
yeah,
of
that's true.
it's filmed
That's true.
it's filmed mhm.
That's a
It's
good
filmed
argument. You could say you could drop it in. You could drop Chicago or New York because there's aspects
mhm,
of there like where it did remind me
mhm.
of Chicago. That's a
Yeah,
good point. It's a good point.
yeah, and it's filmed during the day a lot of the times. And yeah, there's not that whole dark mysterious atmosphere that Gotham is portrayed a lot of the times in the comic book and in, like, say, Tim Burton's Gotham, Batman. But yeah, and then to touch maybe again on the time element, I think back in the day, movie companies wanted shorter films. They wanted
Mm,
shorter hour and a half, hour 45-minute ones so that they could squeeze as many run times as they can into a
right,
theater to make more money. Obviously, it's all about
right.
money.
It
Whereas
is.
now with the streaming services, they want your eyeballs on their streaming service as long as they can get you. So they're pushing the TV series, the binge watching, and this whole Batman being 3 hours. I'm sure they loved it, keeping your eyes on their platform. And like, say, the Justice League, Zack Snyder cut. It's all more about the streaming services and less about the movie theaters.
Yeah, this cut of Batman. I don't know quite why it works, but I think the era that we're in, where you have Disney, Marvel churning out superhero movies like they're freaking candy, and that kind of gets grating, gets boring. Not because they're bad, but because like, look, you grew up with Marvel storylines when you were a kid. I did too. We're living in a dream world. I wouldn't say a golden age at all, but
Yep.
maybe somebody braver than I would say that or make that claim. I think
Mhm.
that's true for like, I don't think we're in that age anymore. I think that died maybe a few films ago, to be honest with you, as
Mhm.
far as just like the anticipation of like that could have been anything. It could have been like literally a rock with the Marvel logo stamped on there with like some trailer around it or what. I'm kind of joking around it, but
Mhm.
this formula with Batman where they're constantly they constantly go back to it. It worked. It worked by and large for me. I really enjoyed it. I think the acting was on point.
Mhm.
I don't think there was a bad actor in this movie or actress
Yeah.
for that matter.
Yeah.
Nobody upstaged. The movie was about Batman. Matt Reeves knew what he was doing. I loved how it was. I think just kind of putting out there, but I think this was a better first take on Batman than Batman Begins. No, I mean, I think it's
Yeah,
not even a contest in my opinion.
I think overall, yeah, the whole origin was just over long with the original. But yeah, the acting is pretty stellar in this one. I love Jeffrey Wright as James Gordon. He did a really fantastic job. And
He did.
um Colin Farrell was until he got lost in Oswald the Penguin. If you hadn't told me that was Colin Farrell before watching it, I would not have seen
I
it. And
agree.
even watching, knowing it was Colin Farrell, I had hard time saying, "Oh, is that Colin Farrell? What's going on
Nothing,
here?"
nothing
Uh,
like a Colin Farrell, and he proves again. And he was in True Detective season two, which I mentioned in the past. And when that first came out, nobody liked it. I liked it, but then again, what I like that tends to not be a popular kind of choice. But I liked it from I could find more to like than not. And as time has gone on, that's kind of been true, at least as far as like a fandom around or nerddom around True Detective season 2, or because it's kind of like it used to be like, pan it. No, it's grown with time, and Colin Farrell was a main actor in that, and he did great. The other side I want to comment on too, that I think they nailed and it helped with it, was the fact that they brought the mafia into it. That was more of a Batman dealing with the mafia and kind of delving in that background. Very kind of, it was part of the plot. We're not spoiling anything, but the mafia had a bigger, more solid role, and I think that the mafia and criminal bosses in Batman films have been larger than life. I think we got pretty close to it in Nolan's, but that wasn't until the second one came out. And John Turturro, I loved he's a great actor. Good God. I was trying to, and same with Colin Farrell. Like it worked. It worked. And I was glad to see that kind of aspect of Batman and the film run. Again, I think I saw it an hour over 3 days, over 3 nights. And I watched with my kiddos, and I think I came away with a more positive experience. Had we all watched it in like one shot, I would have had one kid wander off. I would have had another kid fall asleep, and I would have probably been bored, and I probably would have done it. But I'm glad that we broke it up like that, because I think that it allows you to kind of have some time to absorb 3 hours of film.
And Circus kind of plays against type. I'm sure he had ties with Matt Reeves from the Apes movies, but he works quite well as Alfred. I think they've kind of, in the comic books, they've kind of gotten deeper into the Alfred lore of him being, I think, a MI6 guy. He's military, whatnot. So that plays more to that, as opposed to, say, Tim Burton's Batman and the more genteel Batman of Nolan's.
More aristocratic, away from the crowd. The Waynes were basically living up on a hill away from the main city. They were some philanthropists. Can't say that word. Anyway, they were, well-to-do. They were like, like the Bill Gates of philanthropy for, at one point. It was more, I don't know how to put it, but other than it being 3 hours, I'd say, they didn't do anything weird with the storyline and the characters and like swapping things to make a storyline work or to kind of fit in a certain kind of thing that is just fucking that sticks out like a sore thumb. I almost cussed there. Excuse me.
That's okay. I had a couple of things that didn't quite work for me. The whole relationship between Bruce Wayne and Selena Kyle, Catwoman, the chemistry wasn't there for me. I don't know. It worked for the movies overall, but there wasn't that passion that say in the Tim Burton Batman with Catwoman and Bruce Wayne. There was a definite chemistry, electricity there. Whereas this, it was like they were kind of working together. Batman was very abrupt and strong with Catwoman. He wasn't he didn't expose his more sensitive side that much, to the point where you felt a connection between the two. That it was just more of a working relationship overall.
There are times where it's like, oh, that's Bruce Wayne you're seeing kissing that character, not Batman kissing, like that. It was like, yes, he's dressed like Batman, but it's more like how Bruce Wayne would maybe kind of turn the charm on a little bit or whatever. But I agree that they were very collaborative. There was only one chemistry type scene, and that was their first fight, and it was very primal. But it was just like I agree with you. They did not pick that. There was this one scene like where they first fight, and then it ends, and it's basically like Batman's like, I'm stronger and bigger, and then pins her down on the table or whatever. Like there's like that kind of like there's a little bit of that, but they didn't really do anything with it.
Yeah, and maybe they were kind of scared to go further into that, but I don't know. And then also maybe the scenes that they cut out because it was too long. I don't know. But Robert Pattinson, great Batman. He does. I love his voice much better than Bale's Batman. But his Bruce Wayne, Robert Pattinson's Bruce Wayne, it was very lackluster to me. More of a emo kid wandering around, whereas Bruce Wayne's supposed to be
Mhm.
more of a big personality, and Christopher Bell delivered in spades with that. But that Bruce Wayne wouldn't have worked in this film. It was more of a depressed, more kind of a somber tone to the whole thing. So
Yeah.
so I guess his Batman kind of worked, but I did definitely miss that boisterous Bruce Wayne of the previous films. And the only other thing that I had an issue with, well, I don't know, the whole ending I think might have been reworked a little bit better, but Paul Dano as the Riddler worked great when he was in the mask. When they unmasked him, it kind of fell apart for me. It kind of turned a little goofy with that
Okay.
interrogation scene between the two. It just didn't work for me.
Yeah,
But
I think some things went a little bit longer than I would have liked would be my biggest criticism. Like there's a little bit, I think they could have shortened up a lot of the bigger mini plots in the story to be like just a little bit more, like not quite to the extent of like a Nolan film or a Burton film. Like Batman, at least as far as the first Batman goes. I thought this was better than Batman Begins. Like it's not even close. Like that one was like candy. It was just like, oh, we're just gonna churn out a film. Versus like this one is like, no, I'm actually gonna take this subject matter seriously. I'm actually gonna go out and find actors. I'm gonna figure out the storyline. I'm gonna make this work. I'm gonna make it really long, but that's okay. Like I'm okay. Like it has me hope more for DC on the DCEU side of the house, just because there's been some interesting. I don't think they outright suck. I don't think they're like that bad, but they're just not the same thing. But whereas like I would be burnout for seeing yet another superhero movie or whatever. There's a Linux technology joke like where there's like every other week there's like or month or year or whatever there's like this one application and yet another blah blah blah. Anyway, but it does have me excited for like what they want to do more with this in the future.
Right.
And by virtue of that, it does open up, not fully, but it does open up a little bit of the excitement for me to be like, wait a second, if they're doing this with Batman, what are they going to do with the other characters, or what are they going to do to kind of reboot or whatever you want to call it, and kind of like try to figure out a way to I don't know that they're going to be able to do that. Weave this Batman, this Robert Patterson Batman into like some over. I don't see that, but it has me excited just for it being Batman and
yeah,
a
yeah, I
damn
think.
solid take on it.
Yeah, I think it's a strong foot forward, and I would look forward to next installment of this. Robert Pattinson, I think, has gone on record saying he wasn't very interested in doing another Batman, but I'm sure if they threw enough money his way, he'd probably go in on it.
You know,
And then
yeah, if you didn't, I would respect that. I would respect that to like be like, you know what, let's just not make this weird. Maybe.
But yeah, I like how they did a early Batman, in his early years. I'd be a lot interested because all the movies except for the Joel Schumacher ones have shied away from the Robin character. I would love to see a Robin character in maybe the next iteration of this Batman. And the fact that they're doing the early Batman I'm sure a lot of them in Warner Brothers is probably trying to leave the Zack Snyder verse in the past, and so I think coming in with a new young Batman and maybe a new young Superman, and build up the universe with a plan in mind, and would be a good idea. Like I think we talked about last week, they're wanting to get like a Feige kind of figurehead to kind of lead the filmic universe.
And they might, like we'll see. But I mean, how many times has this been rebooted or try to shuffle this into a bigger, wider, story arc? It's I have zero hope for that in general for DCEU. Unfortunately, that is the suckier part of the picture.
Mhm.
Whereas Marvel, you got, they're geniuses. Even if you love or hate the next two films coming out for Marvel, it doesn't matter. The fact they're winning, Disney, Marvel, they're geniuses on the marketing side, and I will say this over and over again, because even if you love or hate it, what do you have people talking about? You have people talking about a whole bunch of that, whether it's, so they win either way, because then it's going to be like a hate watch, or it's going to be like, I really love this, and maybe there's not going to be too many folks in between other than that. But yeah, I love this Batman. It was really good. I was very relieved. Like,
Yeah.
I was relieved to, and I didn't really get too much of the media culture, 20, just a 10,000-foot blasting out of space, of like opinions or whatever. Like, thank God.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
I think it was pretty mixed on the reactions from what I saw. Like you, I didn't dig deep into the reactions of everything, but yeah, I think from the people that I kind of favor their opinion of things, that they all enjoyed it. So
same.
but yeah.
That's what I heard. Yeah, I took a little bit more of a wider aperture when after I watched this, and kind of like, okay, so it's solid. It's a solid base hit. It's not like awesome. I think it's going to make its money back and then some, no problem.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I
Yeah.
don't think that's an issue. It's not going to be $1 billion one. Maybe not. I don't think so. But
Yeah.
great first start from Matt Reeves. Makes me want to go back and watch more of
Yeah.
his films and appreciate, and then kind of go back and rewatch this. And this is good. This for me is going to be a rewatch at some point, because, well, for one, my kiddos, just my kiddos alone, and they're middle schoolers, and they both enjoyed it. And I know for a fact, had we sat down the first night and watched all 3 hours, I don't think they would have stuck around. I think they would have got
Yeah.
bored, and I think I would have too. But
Right.
it's very, I don't think, I don't know how to say it other than like, I didn't watch it like it was intended, like one sitting. But I think it was probably a good thing I didn't, because I probably wouldn't have as much of a nice opinion of like accepting this into the new canon that is Batman, for sure. But
Yeah.
I would look forward to Batman 2 if they do it. If they don't, that's totally fine by me. Maybe they don't. Maybe Robert Patterson is smart to be like, you know what? I've seen how this. I've already seen this movie before.
Yeah.
I know how this goes. But I just, speaking to him as an actor, how he pulled off Batman for me worked. But then again, I like Tenet. I think there's a good undercurrent of folks out there that don't like Tenet as much as I do. So I think maybe they might not be there, but he did good there, and he wasn't really the main person per se. But as far as like Twilight, I no longer think of Robert Patterson and then Twilight is my main point. Like it's like that's like way far in the past.
Oh,
like, we don't even care.
Actually,
Not even a thing.
I have a recommendation for if you're interested in seeing Robert Pattinson as an actor. The movie Good Vibe. I don't
What is it?
know if you Good Vibe. I don't know if you've seen that. The yeah. There you go. Let's see. That's No, that's not that's not the movie.
Right,
Maybe do a
interesting.
search on IMDb. Good Time. There you go. Good Time. I'm bad with
No, you're
names.
good. You're
Look at
fine.
it. It's an A24 movie, so there's a group of people that are a huge fan of just A24, which I find kind of interesting that you're a fan of a particular studio like that. I guess they would be diametrically opposed to those that are huge Disney fans because A24 is more or less the indie kind of sort of like, I guess, what Miramax maybe was back in the day or whatnot. uh,
Okay. Like
they have a
Image.
lot of a lot of cult movies and horror movies are on the more experimental side. And this is done by the Zafty brothers, I think how you pronounce their name. They both directed, and I think it looks like one of them wrote it. They also did Uncut Gems with Adam Sandler. I haven't seen that. I want to see it, but this movie is about these two brothers. Robert Pattinson plays the junkie, no good brother, and he gets his less intelligent brother wrapped up into all sorts of bad situations. And if you like kind of like those film noir kind of hard luck kind of crime movies, this will be right up your alley. Yeah, not one of the movies that we normally focus on this
Sure.
channel, but it's definitely worth a watch if you're looking for a dramatic performance that sells you on Robert Pattinson as an actor. He does a stellar job on this movie.
I'm gonna watch it. Thank you, regardless of whether it genre fits or not. I don't really care about that. And to kind of speak
Yeah.
with that, there is a very big just cinematography talking, a big robbery, or robbery goes bad or bank robbery or whatever that has been redone and redone, just like Batman has. But we keep coming back. So
Mhm.
if they make a good
Yeah.
storyline and they make a good plot and they have good actors that
Mhm.
execute on that, then I'll be there all day
Mhm.
long. Just like you have said, it doesn't really matter.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
and-
Yeah.
and I think that they achieved that goal for sure,
Mhm.
and just made a solid,
Yeah.
film. But I would
Yeah.
be
Mhm.
just like
Yeah.
I would be excited to kind of revisit Matt Reeves. I would totally be excited to kind of jump more into Robert Patterson because I didn't really watch the whole his early. I didn't watch any of that, but it's nice to see that he's like Leonardo DiCaprio. He's moving on. Like from there's Titanic, and then it's just like, is this going to be the thing? And then like he goes on to have a freaking awesome career.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just sort of like the good actors. As long as you give them a chance, they'll rise to the top if you let them. But
That's what
yeah,
I want.
and like you said, some of the best movies, or books, or whatnot start with just a simple. And a lot of times they catch on where they have just a simple. You could say the plot in one line,
Mhm.
but then there's so much more in the story than just what the story is about. And if you can do that magic of making this whole universe out of just this simple, okay, it's about a bank robbery gone wrong, whereas like say Reservoir Dogs, that's it's so much more than the parts. Just saying about a bank robbery gone bad, it's it doesn't even do the movie justice as far as what actually goes on. But yeah, I guess we're kind of getting a little further away from our
That's okay.
focus.
That's okay. Well, so at the end of at the end of the day, would you say that Batman is a recommend for you to watch?
Yeah, if you if you can get past the 3 hour uh hurdle, whereas like you did, you broke it up in a 3 night thing.
I
That's probably the best way to do it. Just don't, if you sit there through the whole thing, you might not have as good a time as if you break it up.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Like I would say, whatever your preferred style is, break it up. Whatever that looks like for you, like whether it's an hour every evening, it's like it and then strangely becomes more episodic, almost episodic in a way to like where it's still the big screen, but it's, you know, you're taking it like you would watch a, you know, like a big mini series or something like that, or like a small scale one. So
Yeah,
with that being
and
said, oh, go ahead, go ahead.
oh, I was just going to say one other thing. Yeah, the whole line between movie and TV, there used to be like a real clear line between them, but it's gotten to where TV series has gotten such good production value that they're pretty much longer movies anyway. So breaking this up isn't a foreign concept to our current viewing audience, whereas it would have been a kind of a strange what are you doing if he suggested it back in the day.
Yeah, I think we're almost entering territory like where, and I don't mean to go on, but I have to say something about like Warner, HBO Max, this new world they're in. They seem to be navigating it fairly well, I would say. Just
Yeah.
from, I've been very happy with the quality over since, well, for a while now. It's worked. It's been in their favor, and I think if they figure out maybe a little bit of the smaller, tiny details, I think that they're not very far away from reliving their power glory days, or kind of coming into a really strong second wind. I don't know how to put that other than like a studio. I'm not like a big, you know, whatever fan, but I love Batman. I love a good Batman story, whether it's in a comic book or on the big screen or small screen. And DC, once again, it works. So I would just say, you know, figure out how you want to watch it. Maybe you're a mega fan. I don't know, but well. And then with that being said, I would recommend it too. I would, with the caveat being like maybe break it apart, break it up. But and with that being said, I think we were going to go back into some Batman storylines here. To anything else left on the table that we should cover for this film?
No,
For the nerds?
I think that's about it. Talking about the ending, I'm not spoiling anything, but don't look for that mid credit, in credit, big scene. I was so glad they didn't do that. They just ended the movie.
Yep.
That was great. We didn't need anything else.
We don't need DC anything replicating or cloning or copying anything that Disney Marvel does. Let them have that. Let them have that thing like that.
Yeah. Don't just, and it made it a classier movie for doing that.
Agree. You know what? That's a great way to put it. Like overall, I think it was just a classy take on Batman. It worked for the most part, other than the screen time. But I think it was way better than Batman Begins. Like it's like Batman Begins isn't even a rate on the. I mean, it's okay, but Ra's al Ghul and like this weird martial arts thing, kind of, which was already weird anyway to be introduced into the Batman. You know, not really, but I mean, it gets kind of hokey real quick when you try to ram too much original. You know, you're just trying to do too much. But anyway.
All right. So our favorite Batman lines, right? First off, my pick is Batman Court of Owls. This is about 10-12 years ago. The DC decided to do their a reboot. It seems like they do every decade or two. DC does a Crisis on Infinite Earth or some type of big event that kind of sets everything back to ground zero, so that, you know, okay, you could start with this Batman number one, the new 52, and this is your starting point for Batman. You don't have to really have read any of the other stuff. So it was one of their reboots, and this was headed by writer Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo. And first off, have you read this storyline?
I have, a very, very long time ago, but I do remember going through this and being excited and like I did enjoy it quite a bit. Sorry.
Yeah. So it introduces a new villain named Talon, and there's a underground society called the Court of Owls, that are a secret society within Gotham, they were always kind of rumored to. There was a nursery rhyme that had them that named them in it, that a nursery rhyme for Gotham specifically, and Bruce Wayne, Batman, had heard about it all of his life. He at one point tried to see if maybe they're real and were tied into his parents' death. Uh, but he could never find any connection or any existence of these Court of Owls. So for the most part of the series, he thinks, okay, these guys don't exist. They're just trying to retroactively grab a hold of that nursery rhyme and say that they're the Court of Owls. And he's trying to unravel the mystery of this. Greg Capullo's artwork is fantastic in this series. It rides the edge of realism and kind of cartoony. There's like I love that line. I love kind of almost cartoonish artwork, but it also leans heavily into the realism. There's like a really fine line there that I really love. Michael Allred, that artist, he does a great job with it, but more of on the cartoony side. But yeah, Greg Capullo here is just fantastic.
To hop on that criticism of like where it's like just on that line, the way that I like to describe it is like your classic comic book. Like it looks like it came from a classic comic book, that style versus like being cartoony and you can't take it. That's a good way to put it. The artwork was really good in this. I do recall being marveling at that.
And Bruce Wayne gets pulled through the ringer both mentally and physically in this storyline. You really feel for Batman. There's scenes where you're like, oh my god, how's Batman surviving? Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and there's those people that love Scott Snyder and those that dislike his writing style. I'm on the side of really enjoying it. I haven't read a storyline by Scott Snyder that at least work for me. This is one of his best. So if you really want to just read as long as you kind of are somewhat familiar with Batman Bruce Wayne, you pick this up and get a really good story out of it. Because again, they're introducing a new villain, a new concept to the whole thing. So it's not like you need to have read like 50 years beforehand to understand what's going on here. There may be a character or two that you're not quite familiar with, but they're not their whole backstory isn't pertinent to this storyline. So it all works quite well. It's a 12 issue series, and I read it through they've broke it up into 2 volumes on DC side on trade paperbacks. There's I think it's the Court of Owls is volume 1 and Night of Owls is part 2. But yeah, if you get there's like 12 issues and a Batman annual, and those are all collected within those 2 volumes, and you can get a complete story. And just if you just wanted that quick Batman fix and read those 2 volumes, it's a great read for that.
Absolutely. Yep. Good take. Yeah. The one I decided to read was this is more of a newer one, but it was Batman the Imposter, and I started reading this just this week so far. It's basically there's 2 Batmans. One is basically doing all the wrong things with killing, using guns, that kind of thing, and the other one is just regular Batman. And he's it's interesting, but it's sufficiently captivated me to read this one. I didn't do my homework very well because I got, to be honest with you, I remember going back and be like, oh, do I want to do Frank Miller's Batman or do I want to do Dark Knight, classic Dark Knight, or whatnot? But I was like, I've been reading a lot more comic books lately, but anyway, this one is a great start, and I plan on covering this more as I finish it out. I did not finish this story arc out. It's more newer too, but it's good. It's good so far. It's good, but Not much to say
Yeah.
other than that, but
Yeah, I read the all three issues. There, it's a pretty solid story. It's written by Matheson Tomlin, which is a screenwriter, a director screenwriter. So this is, I think, first attempt at writing a comic book. I remember looking him up. I don't know if I was familiar with much of his works, but yeah, it's got kind of got like that whole vibe of a more of a kind of like a screenplay almost, and the artwork's very realistic artwork as opposed to Greg Capullo's more cartoonish artwork. But yeah, the artwork's great in it, and like I said, it's more of a realistic look and take on Batman, and I did enjoy it. So yeah, I'm interested in see how you feel about at the end of the series.
yeah, so far so good. Like, there's nothing that sucks. I'll put it that
Mhm.
way. There's like no red flags that
Mhm.
I would see. Like, I would pick something up and be like, oh
Mhm.
my god, like I just can't continue on with this, or it's just like,
Yeah.
oh, it's
Well,
okay. No, this
yeah.
is it has beginnings of a good
Mhm.
storyline anyway from the
Yep.
initial blush
Mhm.
with it anyway. But
Mhm.
and I like
Mhm.
I am liking the artwork a lot more. So
Oh,
Andrea
mhm.
Sorrentino
Yeah.
did the
Yeah.
inking and the penciling and
Mhm.
the cover.
Mhm. And one other thing I'll point out is it's a Black Label series, and the thing about Black Label is it's sort of detached from the continuing storylines, so it's not into anything as far as plot wise that's going on currently in the Batman universe. Also, with the Black Label, it's kind of an alternate universe Batman, or they've
Right.
done one for Swamp Thing, so they could do whatever they want. So they could kill off characters, they could change characters. So this is sort of like an alternate take on it. So for our fans out there that pick up a Black Label comic book, don't be too surprised if something really dramatic and crazy happens in it, because it doesn't affect the overall story arcs of the other series.
I'd agree with that. Makes well, I mean, you know more than I do, but right. With that being said, what's your next pick for this week?
All right, let's look at the comic books that are coming out this week. There's a big event in Justice League number 75. Yeah, I don't know how they number these. I'm sure Justice League 75 is they've restarted the series, so I don't know what the true issue is. But yeah, so they're killing off all the major superheroes. They're killing off Superman, they're killing off Wonder Woman, they're killing Batman, Aquaman, and they're killing them all off. They're dead for good. No, not really. I'm sure. But yeah,
Right.
so it's the death of the Justice League. They're gonna kill them all off. And yeah, so the actual, and it's more or less probably a money grab. There's back in the day there was the death of Superman, and there was lines around the block to get that death of Superman comic book. everybody
Dan
everybody and their dad were wanting to
Dan's
get
Dan
that
something
issue.
or other did that one, didn't he? What's the last name?
I forget.
I'm trying to think of memory. Sorry.
That's fine. But yeah, that one sold like millions and millions of copies, and I don't think this one will be quite the same hit as the Death of Superman was. But as you know, Superman did come back after a few months. So I'm expecting the same situation, especially since the new CEO for Warner Media has made a edict that he wants to get back to the core superhero members and
Right.
not monkey around with who they are. So I and Josh Williamson is the writer of this issue, and he's a pretty solid writer. I don't love everything he's done, but he's done some really solid work, and so I would recommend picking this up out of curiosity. I think we're going to try covering this in our next episode. So if you want to be up to date and ready for a discussion, you might want to pick this up
Absolutely.
whenever you pick it up. But yeah.
Yeah, this is going to be one that I'm glad that you picked this one. I look forward to diving into and seeing what's what. Cool.
Yep.
What's next? What's it? I'll go last on my because I only have one more. But
Okay. The next one is The Amazing Spider-Man, and this is another reboot of The Amazing Spider-Man. This is issue number 1. This is the year of the 60 year anniversary of Spider-Man. And then this kind of jumps ahead of the storyline as far as what's going on. There's like a jump of a few months, and everybody hates Spider-Man now. The Fantastic Four hates Spider-Man. The Avengers hate Spider-Man, and Doc Ock is looking for Spider-Man. He's the only one that wants to find Spider-Man. So something big has happened. I think he, from the sample preview pages I saw, he like wakes up in this crater, and his mask and everything's all messed up, like something big has happened. He doesn't know exactly what's happened. He has a bit of amnesia, I believe. And the writer for it, Zeb Wells, he's a pretty solid writer as well. He did a great, fantastic run on the X-Men Hellions. That series didn't do very well as far as sales wise, which is a shame because his run on it was fantastic. One of the better X-Men series that came out just recently, a big batch of them. This one was really good. So I'm looking forward to his take on the Amazing Spider-Man, and also they bring back veteran artist John Romita Jr. For this run.
Really?
Spider-Man, and his there's a bit of history. His father took over the art of Spider-Man after Steve Ditko left. So and then I believe John Romita Jr. did a couple of runs on Spider-Man as well himself, and I absolutely love. There's some people that don't care for John Romita Jr.'s artwork, but I absolutely love it. So
I understand
I'm
that.
looking very much forward to this Amazing Spider-Man. Oh, and also if you jump back to the main page on Spider-Man, I just want to mention, and I think we talked a little bit about variant covers. Look at on the other covers, if you keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, I think they have like 40 or 50 different variant covers. That's ridiculous. That's completely ridiculous.
So basically, if you caught number 1 or whatever, and they were doing this at number 1 or whatever for this particular series, like then, or whatever number 1 is for the new whatever, because sometimes they have screwy titling and numbering, which nobody knows, like unless you're a paid comic book expert, or like you do your thing, or that's your bag. But like I'm not gonna. I don't. I mean, it's I don't know. It's fine.
Yeah. There's it's obviously a money grab, and like Mike was saying, do this with issue number 1s, and big issue number 1s. Actually, do it for all number 1. For Amazing Spider-Man, they went all out and did 40 or 50 odd covers, as you can see. But even with just your regular issues now, they do come out with a lot of various titles. They'll come out with 1 or 2 variant covers as well. They've gotten very much into the variant cover, and it's some people call it kind of predatorial, because they enforce rarity in these covers. Like say they'll tell you, the comic book shop, well, if you buy 50 copies of our regular cover, you could buy 1 of our extra special variant cover and sell it at a premium. So
that's what they do.
Yeah. So what happens is yeah, so they're forcing comic book shops to buy all these comic books of the regular cover, and so they're having to buy however many just to get some of those variant covers. Now they are doing, like, they do have like just variants as far as you could just pick them up along with the regular covers, but yeah, there's some extra special ones that the collectors want to get that but yeah, so they can mark
I,
up the price on those and maybe recoup their money, but they're
yeah,
buying they're getting all these extra copies of just the regular cover and probably it may not actually get to sell all of those, but it inflates when they. But then Marvel could say, oh well, we sold 500,000 copies of Spider-Man #1, but that was probably inflated because they were wanting to get some of these variant covers as well. So
that's funny. Shout out to Ken Moore Hess here. We're just talking about this. So many awesome variant covers. How does one choose? Haha. Which ones are you all getting? That's a little bit more positive take on it. I don't think it sucks or anything. It just no, I don't want to go into the discussion panel on this. But I remember a few variant and this is not a new thing, but to this degree, I think it is more of like a modern day, maybe not problem, but a more of a modern day thing. Like whereas being a kid growing up, I can remember a couple of variant ones. They've always done variant couples covers, but like not like this. Like even like the last time that like I was like more purchasing more on a regular basis, like in a covering the Death of Wolverine. That one I actually went out and I bought, and I would actually seek out the variant covers that I could get, like that were the first, first or maybe they're a reprint or second print or whatever, but still it doesn't matter. I did go out and do that, but even then it wasn't like 29 of them, it was or 52. It was like I remember being a kid and I wish I had them, but I lost them in time. But there was a DC Marvel crossover in the 90s. It was kind of lame, but I remember that being a bigger deal or a pretty big deal, and the variant covers made sense. But this stuff, I mean, it's cool artwork, I guess, but maybe this is more for the digital side of the house. I don't know, but that's not true though, because they make money, and just like you said, it's another way to squeeze every little penny.
yeah, it's taking advantage of the collector market and the comic book shop owners that have to sell all these. But Amazing Spider-Man's a big he's a big character. I mean, with the past movie and this being #1, I'm sure it'd be a great jumping on point for people. So if you're big Peter Parker, Spider-Man, you're gonna enjoy it. Most likely enjoy it because you got a solid writer, a solid artist on it. So, but yeah, I definitely recommend it as a comic book. Now, whichever variant you get, you could tell us or give us a little screenshot of your cover in the
Please.
comments below. But yeah, and don't ever forget to like and subscribe. But yeah, I have one recommendation.
I just want to touch. Just want to say real quick on the whole thing, like too, and this is in the works, and we might do this a little bit later on in the year. But we want to do an episode like where, like a beginner's guide, something along those lines. We're still kind of figuring it out, but that's kind of the great thing about comic books is if you like Peter Parker Spider-Man, there's a storyline for you. I guarantee you, if you like this version of Spider-Man, there's a storyline for you. If you like this one, there's a story. Now there might not be many, but just wait for that to change, and I guarantee you, there's like 10 iterations of like Miles Morales, or 10 versions of like Spider-Gwen, or whatever. Like they do make a storyline for you, so you may not like it, but there's one out there for you too. But anyway, going on to your belaboring your point, but what was your next next up?
Yeah, I don't know if I've mentioned this in a past podcast, but Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Last Ronin, and last issue comes out hopefully this week. They've postponed it again and again and again. But yeah, hopefully this will be the final. And then I think the scheduled for collected edition, I think it's going to come out in June unless they push that back, which with them completing it, that probably won't push it back. If they do, it won't be by too much, and I'm sure you'll be able to pick that up at your local comic book shop or Amazon when it comes out. I believe it's going to be a hardcover as well. But this has been an oversized series. it's kind of pricey. Like if you see down in the corner there, it's $8.99, but which is about a little over double what a comic book runs. But it's I think it's I believe it's 50 pages, 48 or 50 pages. And but basically this is the original creators, Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird, both work on it. I didn't see Peter Laird's name, but I believe Laird's on there. But yeah, that's the original creators of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles coming back. They haven't written a work on a story in forever, so this is kind of a rare thing for the creators to come back to it. And there's the basic storyline, so I don't spoil anything. Is it starts with Lone Turtle getting revenge on if I remember the bad guys, it's called the Hand, I think, or the the Foot Clan. Their hands, but yeah, so a lone turtle is taking revenge on the Foot Clan in the far or distant future, sort of a post-apocalyptic world where the Foot Clan runs all. And you eventually learn where all the other turtles are and what's going on. Where's April O'Neil? Where's what's the guy with the hockey mask? I've been reading the series. Casey Jones, yes.
Yep.
What happened to Casey Jones? You find all that out in this novel, and it's a bit darker. Eastman and Laird's run on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles always had that dark Frank Miller Dark Knight vibe to it. It was sort of their comedic sort of, well, their take, a very serious but kind of funny take on the Dark Knight kind of version of a story with turtles. So it inherently is kind of funny that it's turtles, but they do it in a straight face, serious way. And that's the turtles I loved, which I fell in love with. Got used to. I didn't, and then whenever they did the cartoon series, I know some people just love the cartoons, the video game, whatever came after that. That's their bag. But yeah, this is the turtles for me though.
Yep. I get Saturday morning cartoon. That was in the era where there was still Saturday morning cartoons, and then you had your classic breakfast cereal thing, and then you had your motion picture, and then your major soundtrack, all that. I remember being a kid and being swept up in all that for TMNT as a more classy way of saying it. But that's good. I might have to. This is
and then once the whole series is out, we may want to revisit it, or we may want to do a Mutant Ninja Turtle centric episode. I don't know how much interest there is out there for it, or if we want to do that. But yeah, if you're interested in seeing that, maybe make a comment down below. But yeah, you had a recommendation?
Yeah, absolutely. I had, and this is one I think you touched on. But it was like the second one toward the end. I think this storyline is wrapping up, but or coming to a close, if it already hasn't. But
it has.
I saw the artwork, and I just said I had a dip in because I really miss Wolverine, because I think the last one that I really gave a lot of attention to, other than like maybe a one-off whole volume guide or something like that in the last several years, was the Death of Wolverine. And I did not jump online like when he came back on, like obviously, but I've started to read this one, and it's very interesting to me. It does take aspects of it borrows some of the aspects from the movies, and some from the comic book, like X-Men Future Past kind of version of Xavier. But I'm not really getting into too much of the thing, because I do want to finish this whole arc out. And there is kind of a two kind of storylines going on, like where there's a lacing up of a shoe, so to speak. But I was impressed by the artwork. It's good to see Wolverine back as a from my childhood. Benjamin Percy does a great job. The artwork is just friggin' amazing. And I really like to see this. The variant covers, of course they would, but I'm really looking forward to kind of finishing this out next week, and really jumping in. But so far, so good.
Yeah, Benjamin Percy has been doing a run. They restarted the whole Wolverine comic book series, and Benjamin Percy has started as the writer of that, and so he's been writing it. And then this sort of mini series, along with the X Lives of Wolverine,
Yeah, they
came out
do.
as well. Mhm.
Yeah, there's
And
two
they've
storylines. Yep.
and then these two have completed, and they've started back up on the regular series of Wolverine. And this, I didn't talk about it, but last week, the latest issue of Wolverine came out, and the storyline. If you're a Deadpool fan, you may want to pick it up. Deadpool wants to rejoin X Force, and now they're all the mutants are pretty much on this island, Krakoa, where they all live and
Right.
in harmony. And Deadpool is having a bit of a difficult time trying to get on the island, and Wolverine keeps killing him, and he keeps coming back trying to get on there. So if you like that Deadpool humor, it's definitely present in that issue. To tag along with your recommendation.
Yeah, and there is a clunker of a storyline going on too, because and this kind of goes back to not clunker like it sucks or anything, just because you have to understand like how the story's being threaded through. There is 5 issues of this, and then there's 5 issues of the other one, and it makes a 10-part, I believe, total of 10. Anyway, but it's going too far. And I'm about 3 in on one side, so like I'm looking forward to kind of going back and like making sure I read in the right order and make sure I'm not screwing it up, because I'm pretty sure you got one and then the other, and then anyway. But it's good to see. And Omega Red makes an appearance. Like I'm about as far in as like there's some nefarious goings on with compromising morals and ethics, where I'm at with the X-Force and Krakoa being a mutant land. But there's a lot of cool plot lines that are or tropes, I guess, mutant tropes that are kind of classic X-Men that are very interesting how they're building the story, for sure. That's for sure.
And then like you were talking about the Krakoa Island, all the X-Men are there. So whatever decade you're reading X-Men, if you pick up
day-ish kind of sort of.
Yeah, if you pick up an issue of modern X-Men, you're probably going to find a character that you remember no matter what decade you were reading it. They do a good job of mixing it up. There's some good and bad things with the new line of X-Men comic books, but overall I find them enjoyable. The ones that I've been reading is Wolverine. I've been reading X-Force. I've been reading X-Men, and I think I was reading a couple more. But yeah, they've just they're reshuffling the titles and canceling some, like they canceled Hellions, and they're starting some new ones. I think like last week or the week before, I recommended Immortal X-Men that's starting up, which is sort of a kind of taking some of the characters from Hellions, Mr. Sinister in particular, and kind of following his storyline. So yeah.
And we did touch on Mr. Sinister. We need to do justice to that too, and revisit it and do something with that in the future, perhaps if there's enough interest. But this is like probably going to be a good on ramp for me to kind of get into the X-Men, because like the last I remember the Krakoa thing being like late 00s, something like that. I want to say is like, I could be wrong on that. I'm really reaching back in time, but I was dimly aware of the broad storyline, and there were some stinkers in there with Scott and Jean Grey's daughter, and some tomfoolery with that. I kind of remember, like, I don't remember it being bad or good per se, but it was just a thing I remember. But I'll have to go back and see where that story. Anyway, it didn't matter. But yeah, recommend this. This is a classic example, and this kind of touches on that point I made a little bit ago of like kind of getting into a storyline. This is more like for the initiated. So if you had a storyline as a kiddo, or as a young adult, or just grown-up adult, and you just like to get in, this is going to be my on-ramp for Wolverine. And this is like, hopefully this has been done right. You're going to get the full benefit of that, and you're just going to be dropped into a good storyline, because boy, it seems like they're doing things right anyway, like as far as storylines go, like versus like quite a few years ago, like where it was kind of like they were more meh. Like I'm thinking about some Thor storylines that were like okay, but they were meh. But that was like maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I don't know, maybe more like 5. But anyway, having said that, I recommend this, and this is seconded by Thomas, and this is why if you don't know what's out there, this is why we cover this stuff, so you have an in. And with that being said, you want to cover very, very quickly, very briefly, Moon Knight before we get into our YouTube latter half recommendations?
Yeah, we could talk about a little bit about it continues to be an interesting series. There was a kind of a surprise ending to the episode, which we won't get into because it's spoilers, but yeah, it was a bit. I'm kind of wondering what's going on and how the storyline is going to eventually end up. But yeah, it's again Oscar Isaac's great as Moon Knight, and it's fun just to watch him wander through this world that's Moon Knight.
Yeah, to kind of touch on like when things go too long, or to see, this is so stupid, why do they do this website thing anyway? Sorry, I was annoyed. Where the Batman went a little too long. I think the quality's been good, and I just want to touch on this and we can move on or whatever, but I think that this is like one like where perhaps maybe they wanted to make they should have made the series a little bit longer, perhaps, but that's kind of like probably one of the criticisms that I would say, because I think it's a little bit too short to do it justice. Like I think it's good, and not every single Marvel small screen Disney Marvel thing is one that you want to pick up and watch, but so far this one has been worth it to tune in every week, and that's been sorely missing for me for a very long time, probably since the What If series that we kind of touched base on end of last year. But in any case, but John marches on, and I think there's only 2 this week and next week, and then it's done, and then it's whatever. But having said that, I think we're going to jump into. Do you want to cover the YouTube thing, or did you want to do the video game?
Oh, we could do the YouTube real quick.
All right, cool. Yeah. So what's up with this? Like, so I saw this and I chuckled, but like, what's this YouTube recommendation for this week?
Okay, this is Adam, his channel YourMovieSucksDOTorg. That's a real website. That's his website that he also uploads his videos on. But yeah, basically he reviews movies. He got famous for reviewing YouTube famous, I guess, for reviewing really bad movies like Cool Kid Fights Bully. I forget the name of it, but if you scroll down to his most popular videos, I think that's on the main page. Uploads. Just keep scrolling down, you'll see his most popular ones, and it's his most popular video. If you go to the home, I guess I think it's because it's a while back. It's the home tab, not the videos up at the top. The home.
Like, there it goes.
Yeah, home. Yeah, I don't know why they do all that stuff, but yeah, if you scroll down to his most popular uploads, keep scrolling. Let's see, keep going. There you go. Yeah, Cool Kid saves the kids. You can kind of click on that one. But yeah, he reviews this movie. It's movie. I think the guy's, I forget the guy's name, Savage something or other, but he's the maker of these movies, and they're sort of like direct to he sells the
DVD.
DVDs online.
Okay.
Yeah,
Direct to
so he
video.
picked it up. He picked it up, and this guy's just crazy, and he enlisted Vivica Fox and Eric Estrada to help him out on this.
Eric Estrada from Chips.
Yeah, he's in the movie. This, if you don't watch anything on his channel except for this, do it. It's two parts. Yeah, it's two parts. Adam is a movie reviewer, but he's hilarious, and his he has a funny voice, somewhat funny voice, and so his voice in it of itself is kind of catchy to listen to, but he's a very funny guy, and the his take on this is great. And then if you watch this and you enjoy it, you're going to enjoy his other bad movie reviews. He
Oh my God.
yeah, that's the director and writer of it.
Nice.
Derek Savage, that's his name. Derek Savage. I was trying to think of his name, but yeah, and he's had some interactions with Derek Savage once he's reviewed it, because as you can probably tell, Derek Savage is a bit full of himself, so there's been some conflict between the two, and that's Adam himself. He's wearing his Cool Cat merch. And like I said, he's a bit of a younger guy. I think he's late 20s, early 30s. And he also reviews current movies. He reviews serious movies as well. He also does
Okay, I'm gonna love this.
He does also some movie analysis. Like I thought to recommend this because today he put out his first part analysis of the Lion King, the original Lion King, and the newest Lion King remake that they did, and it's going to be the first part's like 2.5 hours. Talk about long movies, is 2.5 hours, and I think the second part's going to be about as long. So it's going to end up being a 5 to 6 hour analysis of the Lion King, past and present. And if you are like, well, that's kind of long just to go over a couple of movies, he does a really good analysis, and like I said, he's funny, so his commentary is really fun to watch. He did a 2.5 hour version on Kimba the White Lion, which people had said that the Lion King, the original Lion King, had ripped off this Japanese anime called Kimba the White Lion. So he digs in deep, really deep, and kind of finds out that they're actually nowhere really comparable, and that it's mostly based on myth. But yeah, I really enjoy his deep analysis of stuff, even if it's
cool.
Even if it's just a deep analysis of Cool Cat Saves the Kids. He's also a musician, and I was going to recommend his music page as well. The unkindness videos, I think, down.
Nope. You know where it is? It is.
Oh, you had it saved on your links.
Oh, okay. This one. Yep.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, he's also a really talented musician. He just I think about a year ago he released his first big album, and he's probably, music's probably not for everyone. It's very piano and vocal based, kind of acoustic sounding. And he does all the instruments. He basically produced and did it all himself. So if you want to kind of check that out, he's also a self-proclaimed furry as well. So just to throw that out there.
All right. Well,
he's a very interesting individual. But yeah, he pretty much reviews all current movies as well. So, and he doesn't I don't always agree with his movie reviews, but he always gives a very detailed analysis of why he particularly likes the movie. And I could a lot of times, even if I love the movie and he hated it, and I listened to his criticism of it, I often find that his criticism is valid. A lot of times it's just either I just don't care or it's not a problem for me as far as what he finds issues with the movie.
Right.
But again, if you just watch his hilarious bad movie reviews, that's entertainment in and of itself.
Nice. Cool. Awesome. Definitely going to check out. This is one I've not run across. I want to check. That just looks funny. Good YouTube funny. Mine this week is Alt Shift X, and this guy is he'll cover popular things that are in fantasy or sci-fi, and like he does really in depth. So wherever you want to cut in on it, if you appreciate some of the back, not Easter eggs, but some of the lore behind, he goes in depth. He reads the books. He just does a fantastic job researching the hell out of any particular subject or source. And if there's a major popular one out there, he'll take it. He has a pretty good valid opinion on a lot of stuff. He helped me kind of understand and appreciate some of the more Lord of the Rings that are more in depth in that world. He's got endless ones just like this, like the real Tyrion. He'll talk about the difference between the Game of Thrones one, and he'll talk about the book one. He'll do that a lot, not just with that, but primarily like if there's like a strong book presence, he'll grab that, and then there's a strong film based on it or a series, he'll jump into that and recap it or kind of just go in on it. And I've always just enjoyed his stuff. He also takes his time, so sometimes he is not as timely as other YouTubers or whatnot, but that doesn't really matter when you put it out there, honestly. But I remember doing a watch for his takedown of like after season 8, and a lot of that was like because I watched his content after I watched a kind of a woeful Game of Thrones season 8. I'm not really giving any spoilers there, but there was some disappointment. I think that's fair to say, but he helped me get a little bit more value out of that when it was on. I think he also did that with season, I think it was just season 8, but he did go back and do, but anyway, well, he did it, but I didn't catch up until whatever, maybe it was season 7, but anyway, I just remember getting a little bit more maximum value out of it. And that's been true for also The Expanse and some other things like that. These are like kind of like where it straddles that line, like where he does a review, but he also goes into the backstory a little bit more, which I love. I love that take on it. And that would be interesting. And I need to follow up, and I need to watch on Watchmen 2019, like, which we probably won't ever get into, but just a good. I've been with him for a long time, like probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, maybe 3 years. Anyway, good take.
I haven't checked that one out, but although that real Tyrion video kept getting recommended to me, I kept meaning to maybe check that out, but yeah, that one kept popping up in my recommends.
Yeah, what does he say? Game of Thrones, Westworld, The Expanse, more explainers, analysis. Like he really does do the theories and analysis and character analysis, like for a deeper dive. If you want to rewatch or revisit, I would say pair this with whatever series, and you won't be disappointed. Pretty good feedback all around. But I can't say enough good things about him. Good. We're all about trying to promote other YouTubers out there who are maybe not getting the light like they should, the shining light. But in any case, so with I was going to say, I wanted to cover. Oh, Bradley, because he had a thing on there for Watchmen, which was on which I don't really care about Watchmen, but HBO Max, like they had a newer series called DMZ. And I try to. This is kind of like just kind of rolling off of that. Just I've mentioned it in the past, but I try to sit down and watch because I did finish the comic book series by Image, and it was really good. I loved it. Unfortunately, the version that they put up on HBO Max is completely different. I don't know how to take it. I couldn't finish. I just couldn't finish it. Even the first episode, I'm going to try to redo, but I don't think it's going to happen. But it is what
Yeah,
we can all
and
have winners.
right. And to touch a second on it, because I haven't read the whole series. When it first came out, I think it was in early 2010, was it? Somewhere around there. Oh, when it first
Yeah.
came out,
Let's
I
find out.
picked up. I think I picked up the first volume of the graphic novel, and I really enjoyed it and was going to continue the series, but I haven't picked it back up. But from what I can barely remember what I read, but when I was seeing the advertisements and they were calling it DMZ, I was like, well, there's a comic by that, but that does not look like the comic book I read. And then I had to check, and it's like, oh yeah, it is based on it.
Yep.
So I was like, well, maybe it's worth
Yep.
watching. I don't know, but from what I saw, it wasn't grabbing me.
Yeah, and it was like maybe 2 or 3 weeks after it came out, and I realized that was based on that series. But it I don't know. It doesn't work for me. But like to be fair, I need to go and watch at least the first 3 episodes of the series. Like I don't even know how long. I think it's a mini one. I
Yeah,
don't know.
it's 4 episodes.
Okay, 4.
So might as well.
Okay, yeah. So
if you watch 3, you might as well watch the 4th.
right. Well, to be honest with you,
Yeah.
to just be savage about it, like I would totally skip out on episode 4 if it was not up to snuff or whatever. If I had to force myself through it, like then it's not. But anyway, anyway, that's just a criticism that I would because I've mentioned it in passing over the last few month or so. But anyway, with that being said, we come up to the end, and one of our more rare things that we will be shifting a little bit more into, I think, as it's relevant to culture and what our interests are. But so you had found this one, Ghostwire. What's this video game? What's going on here?
It's Ghostwire Tokyo, put out by Bethesda. Looks like, yeah, it's a it's a kind of an open world, first person shooter, so to speak. It's made in Japan. It's all subtitled. Also, it's a PS5 exclusive. I don't own a PS5, but it also came out on PC. And all the recommendations were like, my video card was about a generation below what it was recommended. So I was a bit worried about getting it for my PC, but I saw some videos where they ran it on my video card and it looked great. So I went ahead and picked it up, and it plays extremely well on my PC, and it's like I said, it's subtitled. So if you're not really into subtitled or sort of a Japanese vibe to a video game, it takes place in Tokyo. These demons or ghosts sort of infiltrate the world. Your character starts off at the very beginning, gets killed, and this demon or spirit or something possesses that body, brings that character back to life. So you have this dichotomy of this demon and person trying to figure out each other, and it's a shooter in that you're shooting powers out of your hand. The demon has these powers, so and you kind of level up your various powers. So if you're kind of interested in a Japanese ghost centric type storyline, this is definitely for you. And obviously Japan movies and games are inherently kind of weird as well, so there's that weird vibe to it. But yeah, I'm about a couple hours into it. It's from what I heard, it's not a really long game. So and I'm kind of as I get older, I don't really want to spend 60 hours in a game. If I get 10, 20 hours out of it, that's fine for me. And but yeah, so far I'm really enjoying it. There's it's kind of got, if you played BioShock with the hand powers, it's kind of reminiscent of that, with the
Okay.
definite Japanese flavor. So you're wandering around the streets of Tokyo. The streets are all empty except for the ghosts and demons. So you're wandering around there, killing ghosts and demons.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, definitely have to check that out. And with that, we are going to try to get something along gaming lines maybe one of these days. But stay tuned. We'll see how it goes. But with that being said, I think we had a very good take this week, and great recommendations. Thank you again, Thomas. This has been the first, the last, the Nerdom, and we would very much encourage you to like, comment, and subscribe. Anything you would like to see more of or less of, please let us know, and let's all make a community.
Yeah, the community is a great thing. And then just to piggyback onto that, I know we seem to get quite a bit of views for comic book related stuff, and I know that we're not this channel isn't chasing views. Obviously, we're going to cover what we want to cover. But since there seems to be more of an interest in comics, as far as the community is concerned, if you want recommendations, say you're always kind of interested in a certain character, but aren't really into haven't dived deep into comic books, so you're not sure where to start. In the comments, let's get a community going in the comments, and if you want to ask for recommendations, we'll be there to reply. I'm always, and I'm sure Mike is too, watching the comments, and it's kind of been kind of barren except for stand out like Lou. Shout out to Lou, who's I'm sure
Thanks,
is
Lou.
watching. Yeah, but yeah, I want, we both want to get more of a community going as the comments. So yeah, if you have any recommendations or want any recommendations, comment down below, and we'll get the community going there.
Absolutely.
Oh, and also we're doing a new series where my first watch of Star Trek: The Next Generation. We'll have that episode out a little bit later in the week, and check that out as well. If you're in Star Trek or just want to see my take on it, that's there for you to watch as well. It's a little bit of a short kind of episode series, but yeah, check that out as well.
Yeah, that one we publish every Wednesday, and we look forward to doing that. Great plug. And with that being said, this has been Mike.
This is Thomas.
First, last Nerdom.
See
you
you
later.